Round 17 list. Thankfully, nothing too crazy in this one compared to last week, but still plenty of decisions to be made. And lots of guys in this list that you might want to be trading out, and a bunch that you'd be looking to trade in. So Munster in this one was a little bit interesting, but the rest of them, Jesse Brom and Jai Arrow coming back, doesn't change too much. But let's jump straight into that and get those decisions going for your side. Dolphins and Rabbitohs. So very interesting one to kick off things here. The Dolphins, as we see there, Jesse Bromwich returns in this one. Ray Stone, they've got him in the number 16 jersey starting. So, it potentially happens this way like it did last week with SAS off the bench. JJ Collins comes in for this game here. So, again, not really anything of note on the interchange. I still think Mark Nichols is a trade out, guys. And thankfully, Lemuelu still sticks in that spot. And we don't have our man Felice Kafusi coming back yet. Jeremy Marshall-King, a potential option if you're looking at him. Isaiah Katoa made a little bit of cash last week. Would you bring him in this week? I don't know. Him, Sonny Luke. Either one's probably okay at that price point, and there's not too many lower than that, to be honest with you. And there's one of those guys that we see on the bench in a later team that is the cheapest of them all, but is he a good option either? I'm not sure. And the Hammer is obviously the interesting one at that dual position centre wing fullback that could do a good job. Okay, we look to the Bunnies, and they've obviously got plenty of good options considering they don't have their bye all the way through until round 16 like the Broncos. So if you want any of these non-Origin guys, Campbell Graham might make that Origin team, and he probably deserves it. The big one here is Isaac Thompson's actually been named, so let's monitor him this week because Tane Milne is actually in the 18 jersey and could come straight in for Thompson, and it's a pretty quick turnaround given they're playing on Thursday night here, and it didn't look very good at all. He couldn't finish out the game, and then potentially playing this week, I hardly doubt that one. So that's Isaac Thompson there. Isaiah Tass, Cody Walker, both cheeky options, I think. Tass is the cheaper of the centre guns and had a bit of a low one last week, as did a bunch of other players on that left side who didn't get the ball. But Johnson coming back gives Tass more opportunity to get the ball down his side. But Cody Walker switching between left and right. You see Graham getting much more ball. It might be a little bit of a worry for those left edge guys in Johnson and Tass there. Latrell coming off a big one. We got Cookie and Murray. I think both of those are clear holds for a while, and you can make good decisions from there. Davin Wale keeps his spot on the interchange. Not too many on him. Jai Arrow comes in for Tavita Totola. So that's definitely an interesting one, with Tavita being out, with another re-injuring that knee. And what you do see, though, is Hame Sele in that 17 jersey. So you look at these bench guys, and none of them are really going to be big minute guys. Murray will be. Host probably gets that 55 or so with Jed Cartwright coming on. And, Colin Matangi, you've got, Burgess going to play 45, 50 minutes. Arrow probably similarly. So Sele, you probably can't expect more than 30 minutes out of him. And he's priced a little bit over 300. I understand why you would still look to him. His PPM's great. But 30 minutes is a bit of a worry. So you're probably looking for closer to 40, and I'm not sure you're going to get that from him, unfortunately. Okay, let's go to Sharks Roosters. So welcome back to the Sharks in this one. Surely this is a close game, and Roosters really turned things on its head because last week they were terrible, and they can't play that game again. Can't play that bad again, surely. You got Teddy coming back, which is great news, and definitely is a good option this week. Also, probably a slightly better option next week as well, price-wise, but, if you get him in now, you get 6 games before Origin, and you can make decisions on him there. Whereas with waiting that extra week, it would have 5 games, and then you'd have to make that decision come Origin. I think Suoli is probably a hold, guys. It's going to be tough for him against who's it going to be against Ramian in this one on that right edge for them, and I think he's going to do okay. Ramian can sometimes miss some tackles, so that's probably his only sort of downfall there. He's such an aggressive attacking player, but defensively can go missing sometimes. So hopefully you can get a bunch of tackle breaks and maybe a line break from Suoli'i, and I wouldn't expect them to play anywhere near as bad as they were last week. So hopefully a close game, and a bunch of these guys, Jackson Bolo there, you got Joey Manu, Sam Walker, all of these guys you could hold and hope that they do pretty well. Same with Teddy bringing him in. Brandon Smith still like a half okay option heading into this week. I would like to see them play again. I'd like to see him do pretty well again before I look to bring him in my side. Had a few people asking should they bring in Egan Butcher. That was his first good game of the year. And you've got Crichton, you've got Tupanua potentially coming back, and he'll be a middle. So I don't really like that there. On the Sharks side, the question is, do you bring Hines in at just over a mil? That's the big question of the week. I'm playing, little changes in my team with him coming in and also with him not coming in. So some of the things to think about with Heinze on that one. Teague Wilton, if you held, great work. He'll still average about that 50 mark, which is great. And Cam McInnes this week is in the 13 role with Finucane being out, with Toby Rudolph being out. You see Royce Hunt coming to the starting side with Hamlin Ueli. He's also really cheap, Royce, after a bit of a slow start. So he's someone that could be a cheeky option. The man that we have been waiting to see all preseason, actually Thomas Hazelton, is a guy that comes onto the bench. So how much game time he gets, I'm not exactly sure. You've got Graham in there, probably sort of 20, 30 minutes. Similar with Williams. I think Oregon Kafusi gets a bit of a step up. And there's not a lot of big minute middles in this team right now. So you got Hunt and Hamlin Ueli won't. And really, all the bench guys are going to be 30, 40 minutes. You'd imagine Cam McInnes gets 55 to 60 minutes, which could be cool. And that could be end up being good scores for him. You can wait a week with McInnes as well, just with his higher break even. But if you want to jump the gun early, like some of us could have with Campbell last week and just get a good score, I think McInnes, you can plug him in for a good score in this one. So that's that in that second game. For the next one, Seagulls and the Storm, another close game, I'd imagine. Tommy Trbojevic has been named, which is good news here. We've got Vega coming in on the wing for Garrick, who unfortunately it will be out this week with that concussion. It wasn't a clear cut, but he's definitely out in this one. Cooper Johns, a very sad one for potential Weeks owners. I do see Weeks as still being an okay option, guys. He's going to be very cheap. Well, he is very cheap, and we'll definitely play some games during the Origin period. When they have DCE out, they have Trbojevic out there. I think he's definitely going to play either 1 or 7 during that time. And they do have a bye in round 13, which is a little bit annoying, but you'll potentially get him in round 14 playing, potentially 16 and the like from there. I believe that's correct that they miss out on 13, but we'll check that one. But yeah, anyway, over that period, you'll get a couple of games over weeks, so you could be an okay cash out. Unlikely to be this week though, and unfortunate that he's on the interchange bench because that just hurts his ability to come out and score. They have Aaron Woods playing this week, so out of this bench, Sipley, Woods, Weeks and Bullimore, you'd expect big minutes from the guys starting, but that means Weeks probably gets his 25 to 30 here. Schuster still named in the reserves, which is not great, and Kepi's been dropped to reserves after 2 pretty average games from him, so that's not good at all. DC, I think you got to hold, guys. If he hasn't scored incredibly well, but he's definitely a hold. And we go to the Storm, and Munster comes in for Meaney, who had some delayed symptoms of concussion. So after he missed a part of that game on the other night, so Munster goes back to 1. Jonah Pezzett, if you brought him in, he gets a third chance, which is cool, and we'll do a good job for you. Will Warbrick. Could he go really well this week? Definitely. Am I prepared to play him this week? Probably not. Just the way that things go, I'm not sure. But Hughesy's in there, Pezzett's in there. How's that going to go? It would be different if I think we had Munster at 6 and Hughesy was out. But we'll have to work that one out. If you have to play him, it's not the worst thing in the world. If you don't have to, then that's probably a good idea as well. Trent Lioro, Katoa are both still there. Lioro's getting closer to a sell. If you don't have to, he's going to be fine. He should still score somewhere in the low 40s, but he's someone that if you need to use a decent amount of mid-range cash, then he's a guy that I'm personally looking at to be able to get a gun fullback, considering we have so many good edges at the moment. Joshy King, a good middle that I think everyone should be still looking at. And Katoa's likely to be a keeper longer term. Harry Grant also a cracking option if you don't own him. But there are some buys coming up in the next bunch. Okay, Warriors, Cowboys. We've got Chance there who's been scoring solidly. Do you look to pick him up? It's a tough one. They have a few harder games after the Cowboys here. Dylan Walker comes in at 6 for Tamari Martin. So he's out for a while there. And the biggest thing here is there's still no Metcalf around, and I didn't think he would be anywhere close, unfortunately. But Walker comes into that spot, and he won't be an option either. Jackson Ford's still there. Tohu Harris named again, but who knows what's going to happen with Tohu in this one. You got Tane Tuapiki, who is on that interchange bench, and if you do own him, hopefully hoping for some more minutes, so you can make a bit of cash. Otherwise, he might drop down a little bit, which is frustrating. For the Cowboys, someone asked me about Cody Drinkwater. I think you need to wait on him. He's not scoring well at all. He's going to drop a bulk of cash there, and then potentially closer to the buy period if he's pretty cheap and could do well. He could be an option for sure. Okay, in the forwards here, we get, in the backs, we get a couple of guys back. We get Talangi back, which is good. So Elliott comes out. We still see Chester on the bench. So Chester's a sell, guys. He did his job. Time to move him on. Reece Robson's still there in the 9. The interchange is same as last week, very light on in the forwards. We lose Griffin Neem, unfortunately, with his throat issue. Didn't look good when it happened live, and he succumbed to that, and it could be a couple of months out, which is not nice. Jeremiah Nanai just slots straight into his position there. Really, anyone in the Cowboys I'm not looking at the moment. Val Holmes is the only sort of 6-week play, along with Robson. They're the only two, but I have Robson already. Okay, let's move to Knights and the Panthers on Saturday evening there. Lockie Miller, absolutely killing it. Tyson Gamble comes into 6. Phoenix Crossland goes into 9. So he's definitely someone that is of interest, and we'll cover him in tomorrow's video with Scoop for sure, considering he has dual position hook and half. And, he's going to be in the 9 jersey there. They don't really have any other options, so he likely to play 80 minutes. Could potentially have Kurt Mann taking a few minutes off him for sure, but the interchange stays exactly the same with how things are going. Leo Thompson and Croker maintaining their spot, and we still don't see Adam Elliott anywhere in the reserves as well. On the Panthers side, as I said, plenty of good options here. Dylan Edwards could be a cracker if you're looking at him. Taruva's the cheapest out of the wing fullback options. To'o's the next best options after Edwards. But yeah, Tungo in the centres, if you're looking at it, I definitely think he's a good idea. Try and get Cleary in as quick as possible too, if you don't have him. I would select Cleary before I would select Hines, just based on price alone. So it's very hard to get Hines into your team and not stuff up your team value, your structure, mixing up the amount of guns you have in each spot if you're just loading up with Cleary and Hines. So that's the only reason I'm worried about that. Zach Hosking and Sorensen keep their spots. Sonny Luke's still in the interchange. I definitely think he's a good option as well if you're looking at someone cheap. But in the reserves, you see Liam Martin and Garner. So good news, I think, with Garner not being back and named. But I think Liam Martin is a chance to come in and start. And what that would mean is he would come in for Scott Sorensen in this one. So at worst here, it looks like for Hosking, we're getting 3 weeks, which is going to get at least 150, 170k and some good scores. But likely could be longer term that Garner hasn't been named in the starting side. He's just been named in the reserves. Liam Martin, it sounds like it would be more likely the one that's battling his injury and trying to get back in. And Mr. Garner there is, maybe out of favour and, has lost his spot, basically. Sorensen playing great in that spot. I think, they'll have Martin ready to go. Lindsay Smith keeps his spot as well, guys. So hopefully a big score out of him and you can make some money. All right, let's go Titans Broncos. Titans side, Jaden Campbell there. My main issue now with Campbell is the same amount of weeks he's going to get. Unless Brimson has a setback, it looks like he was a sort of a 3 to 5 week injury. He's already been out for 2 because it happened in round 4. This will almost be 3 weeks since he did the injury by the time this game comes around. So any chance over the next couple of weeks he could come back for sure. Like, is 2 weeks enough this week and the following one for Campbell for then Brimson to come back? I don't think so. So I really don't think it's a risk worth taking. I understand why you might want to play it considering he's in the mid 400s, but it's definitely a tough one there. Khan Pereira keeps his spot as well, so let's see if that maintains. The interesting thing here is Kieran Foran comes straight back in for Sexton, who is not even in the reserves. So Tanner Boyd will retain his kicking, like a lot of people were hoping and jumped in the comments and said to me, and you were completely right on that one, so well done. And I think Tanner Boyd is then a hold from here with the kicking back. He comes up against a tough assignment. Broncos after a loss, but I think that he'll do okay enough to score in your 17 for sure and be a hold covering your hooking position and the halves. For Fifita's probably the only other option in the Titans side. Broncos there, you're looking at Walsh, still a great option, guys. Should be able to have another good game in this one. Just looks absolutely electric and picked up a good score this week without scoring a try. So, and he butchered one as well. He could absolutely snuck over for that one as well. So Walshy seems like a great option this year. And if you don't have him like myself, you're missing out for sure. Payne Haas, obviously the clear other best option. People looking at Carrigan, hit or miss if you want to trade or not. Reynolds still a solid option, guys. I wouldn't be pushing him to get in your side, but he's definitely one to hold. Last couple of games, Raiders and Dragons here. Croker keeps his spot, which is pretty cool. And you're moving down from there. Whiten returns, which is good. Joe Tarpany, if you held on to him, awesome. They have a bye next week, so I'll be looking to buy him in around 9. And then potentially Cam McInnes as well, which is pretty fun. So Tups has been doing a solid job, and he'll be a great purchase in round 9 there. Dragons, Charles Sloan, I think you can give him another crack against this Raiders side. You'd imagine a fairly close game, and Sloan could do a bit better. But I understand why you'd be looking to move him on now that you think he's maybe potentially done in this team. Okay, Jack Bird, I still think is a cracking option, guys. Has a buy in round 16. I'm looking to get him in my side this week, if possible. It's definitely possible, but how I decide to do that, and needing a wing fullback, and it's needing a good wing fullback. If I'm looking at Bird as well, that means I probably don't get Hines, but we'll see what happens coming into this week. But Ben Fasila keeps his spot somehow. And the big good news on the interchange is we have Toby Couchman keeping his spot. So, he got 50 minutes last week, and that was with our boy Molo going off, who has been, he's been pushed out this side with the suspension. So, they bring Zane Musgrove straight in. I think Coach Couchman there is probably still going to be able to get like 40 minutes, but he played 51 last week, and you're really looking for him to get about that 40 minutes, and I'm not sure if it's guaranteed. So him at dual position, I think he's a solid enough cover. He'll play in round 13 and 14 for you. So that is something to note. I think that's very, very helpful. So he's a potential option in your side this week if you're looking at them, but again, we'll explain further in tomorrow's video. And I think that's it for those teams. And the big one here is in the Eels and the Dogs. Nothing much changes for the Eels there. Bryce Cartwright gets another crack in that 12 jersey. And I think he's probably a clear hold now. A few people were talking about him, potentially just holding him all the way through to round sort of 20 there when they have their last bye. And he misses a few games over that period. I think 14, 18, maybe just after that. But really, when they've got potential guys out, like Madison could definitely be out over Origin. And a couple other guys there, depending on how things go. Obviously, Junior Barlow there. They probably need to continue keeping Madison in the middle there, and Bryce Cartwright probably keeps his spot. The biggest change here is Barlow comes in, and Hopgood maintains his position on that interchange. Jack Murchie moving from the interchange out of the side. So, really, minutes-wise, does Hopgood maintain that 45 to 50? Yeah, probably. Is that enough? Probably not. Definitely with Murchie off now. He's been playing through the middle, but he was the only one that could probably come on for Cartwright. And in all Cartwright's games so far, he has played 80 minutes. So I doubt that he's the guy that does come off in this game here. Madison probably goes down to about a 60-65. And, that's where Junior's extra minutes come from. And it might just come from Greg or Makatoa not playing as many on the interchange. So I still think Hopgood's probably a trade out, guys. It is a tough one, considering he is has been scoring like a gun, is averaging 60 still, but the situation has changed for him, and minutes aren't going to be there like they were at the start for him to average that 60 odd. And for the Dogs, for our last one there, we do see Tavita Pangai back, we see Kikau back, and Raymond Faitala-Mariner. And all they lose from that is Edwards, they lose Morin, and obviously Addo Carr comes out as well, which is Jackson Torpany is the other one that comes out of this side from last week. And the winger that does come in is Braden Burns. So it's something we thought of. Alamotti I'm a little bit stressed about, so that's why I'm potentially trying to bring in Jack Bird, so I don't have to play Alamotti. But if you have to play him, that would be okay as well. Perham, I think he's definitely a hold, but it's going to be a tough one this week with the Eels. Someone I'm really looking at is Mitch Moses, and a very sneaky option is Dylan Brown at 650. He's lost 100, and he could be someone that you bring in at the right time, and he starts to get the odd line break and try, because he hasn't got a line break or a try this week. So Moses, I think, is the safer, probably better option at 130k more expensive, but if you don't have that amount of cash, Dylan Brown, this could be the correct time to pick him up. The mid-40 scores are the worry for me, but that's that. Just keep watching Sean Lane. He'll lose a fair bit of cash, and that is where we're at for the team this video. Hope you have a great week, guys, and good luck with your trades.